but my brain seems to keep on defaulting back to translation. Honestly, I felt like I didn't do too bad, especially for my first time interpreting live like that. So that's a new skill unlocked for me, albeit in the fledgling era, but a new skill all the same. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Emma, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about one of the crucial aspects, one of the most exciting parts, albeit a little bit hard to attain, of the language learning process as you strive towards fluency, and that is to be able to think in your target language. So a little bit of background about me is that my mother tongue is Vietnamese, but I did grow up. I did start learning English at the age of 5. Back then I was in Australia, so I basically grew up with the language, and so I don't really remember a time where I ever had to translate between English and Vietnamese. Right now I do teach English, and I'm also an avid language learner on the side. So throughout my life, I have dabbled in learning French, Korean, and Chinese to various degrees. And the thing is that I have not been able to really think in those target languages, even though, for example, for French, I could comprehend up to a B1 level, but I still find myself translating between, let's say, French and English or Korean and English whenever I have to use those languages. When I teach English, I'm fully able to give my students tips so that they can start thinking in English. I see my students starting off thinking in Vietnamese and then translating into English, and then slowly they're able to think in English. Now that they're thrown into an English-speaking environment, they're flourishing, and all of the English that they had absorbed over the years is coming back out. But for some reason, it seems as though I can't take my own advice. And I even asked them for advice, like, how did you begin to think in English and bypass that translation process in your brain? And basically the advice that they gave me was to talk to myself, write to myself, think aloud basically in the target language, which is something that I do try to do. I mean, for sure, I probably could have tried harder. And I think the reason for that is that there is such a big gap between my English and Vietnamese and the other languages that I'm learning. And amongst the other foreign languages that I have dabbled in, the one that is at the highest level would be French. And there's a huge gap between Vietnamese and English and French. For me, having to take time out to practice thinking directly in French means time taken away, time that I could use to think in Vietnamese and English. I can fully flesh out my thoughts in these two languages, and I can think deeply and really ponder things, whereas these languages, I'm probably not thinking anywhere as thoroughly. And I suppose the reason why I haven't made as much as an effort as I could have to think directly in these languages is because I am still prioritizing the depth of my thought on a daily basis. That said, I do think that the amount of time that I have dedicated to learning these languages should have come back with dividends by now, in the sense that I should have been able to think and form thoughts in these languages to a certain extent, but my brain seems to keep on defaulting back to translation. A couple months ago, I decided to no longer resist the process of this translation in my head, because I feel like I have a decent knack for languages. My intuition isn't too bad either. And so if this is a process that happens naturally for me, maybe I shouldn't be resisting it as hard as I have been, because this is basically live interpretation, and people train to have these skills, to use them, and I already have them, so why resist them, right? Maybe it's serving a purpose. Maybe I'm destined to become a live interpreter or a simultaneous interpreter, or whatever the official term is. So fast forward a couple months, we're now at the middle of November 2025, and my best friend here was getting married, and he had a crew of foreign guests come over to Hanoi, to Vietnam, to enjoy the week here, enjoy the city of Hanoi before attending his wedding ceremonies later on in the week, and I volunteered to take care of the guests, kind of show them around the city, make sure that they're well taken care of in this place that I called home. And during the week, I was playing tour guide and also translating everything. Most of the time, it's just someone says something, I have the time to translate it back into the other language and vice versa. And at the end of the week, at the wedding ceremony itself, you have the MC speaking, you have uncles and aunties and family members giving toasts to the bride and the groom. So basically, I had to do live interpretation to the rest of the guests so that they're caught up with what's going on. And so I had to utilize my one ear listening to what the uncles and aunties were saying, and at the same time, just translating directly. It was the first time I had to translate like that, and it was exactly like for example, if I were listening to a Korean podcast, my brain would automatically translate the podcast as it's going into English. And my brain was basically doing the same thing while the uncles and aunties were speaking. It's just that this time, I'm also saying what I'm translating aloud. Honestly, I felt like I didn't do too bad, especially for my first time interpreting live like that. Definitely not my best work, of course, but I could really see myself developing the skill a little bit further in the future, and it could be pretty useful. So that's a new skill unlocked for me, albeit in the fledgling era, but a new skill all the same. So maybe it serves a purpose after all. So between the languages that I have been studying to various extents, as I was saying, my French is the most developed out of all of them. En français, mon vocabulaire et mon grammaire ne sont pas parfaits du tout, mais je peux communiquer la plupart de mes idées dans mon quotidien. À la fin d'une journée, je peux raconter les choses que j'ai fait pendant cette journée. Je peux discuter les sujets un peu plus profonds avec quelqu'un d'autre. Il n'y a pas beaucoup de problèmes ici. Et en tournant ce vidéo, maintenant j'ai réalisé que peut-être je peux penser en français directement sans traduction en anglais. Et je ne suis pas très sûre depuis quand ce processus a commencé. Mais peut-être maintenant, je peux penser un peu plus en français qu'avant. The more you know. This is new to me. I have not thought in French before, or if I have not realized it. The last time I checked, I was definitely translating between French and another language, but here we are. During the filming of this video, I guess it just kind of happened. I mean, if you want to check out my French progress, you can check out this video over here. And that was only filmed like 3 weeks ago, and even then I was still translating in my head. But I guess because I wasn't resisting this process anymore, somehow things kind of fell into place maybe. So now I'm curious. Let's try with une autre langue. On va essayer avec une autre langue, peut-être le coréen. 오랫동안 한국어를 사용하지 못했습니다. 사실은 머릿속에 아무것도 없는데요. 네, 아무것도 없어요. This is kind of strange. I'm also not translating in Korean. But also nothing is happening in Korean. Nothing is happening in my head right now. It's just blank. So let's try again with a more recent language that I had been working with, 中文. I think 我觉得中文是一个很特别的语言，因为我的很好的朋友是一个台湾人，他说普通话，我想跟他一起聊一聊，用中文聊一聊。他也可以说一点越南语，所以我觉得一天我们可以跟别人说，我们可以用别人的母语 right? Mother tongue, 母语,母语,母语,说话. Same goes with Chinese as it did for Korean. I'm not translating anymore, not nearly as much. And also, nothing's happening up here. It's not like I have a thought that needs to be translated into Korean or Chinese. It's just more so, I'm thinking in those languages, but nothing is coming up in my head. And I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I guess on the one hand, I'm not translating anymore, but on the other hand, nothing. But there's also another way to think about it. Blankness is what we strive for when we're trying to, like find peace and meditate and whatnot. And so basically I have a tool to get there now, which is trying to think in the language that I don't know too well. I have just peace and silence in my head for a little bit. And maybe that's the purpose of this state of being as well. So that's a second interesting realization of the day. So I suppose that all in all, there will be different states that you go through when you're language learning. You're in the stage where you're translating between languages. Maybe you're in the state where you're thinking in the target language, but you don't have enough up there yet. Or maybe you've surpassed them both and you can think in your target language and you can consume the things that interest you and you're on your way to fluency, in which case, congratulations. I'm so happy for you that this is where you're at in your language learning journey. For me, I guess I trust myself and I trust my intuition. So for me, I'm realizing that maybe I shouldn't resist it as much and maybe certain processes happen for a reason. And maybe I should just kind of let go and see where it takes me. And you never know, you might surprise yourself in the end. And how about you guys? What language are you studying? And where are you in your language learning journey? Can you think in your target language? And if so, do you remember when you started and also how you got there? I think this could be a really interesting conversation if you guys are willing to share it in the comments, and we can all learn from one another, different ways to learn language with our own unique approaches, just to know what's out there and not box ourselves into one particular method or approach to reaching fluency. And yeah, I'm excited to continue exploring these different states that I've just realized together with you during the filming of this video. And if anything interesting does arise, you guys will be the first to know. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!